Welcome. In this video, we're going to walk through how to set up a domain on your VPS. First, we'll log into our server and get everything ready. Then, we'll jump over to our domain registrar and configure the DNS records. Now, we're in our domain provider's advanced DNS settings. Here, we'll add in a record. For the host name, you might just use the @ symbol to represent your root domain or any other subdomain name, like I used data, and then enter your VPS's IP address in the value field. Once you save that, your domain will start pointing to your VPS. Once your DNS setup is complete, the next step is installing Nginx on your server. Now, I've already installed Nginx on my machine, but don't worry. You just need to run a few simple commands to get it set up. I'll share those commands in the video description, so you can simply copy and paste them into your terminal. With Nginx installed, we're now ready to host a website. To manage our site files easily, let's open SFTP. This will allow us to upload and organize our web content from our local computer. Now by default, Nginx creates a root directory for your website at /va8r/luww/html. This is where your website files will live. As you can see here, I've already added a file named Envedo inside this directory, just as an example. Now let's create another folder for our website. I've just created a new directory named DateEntry inside our web root. This folder will hold the HTML and CSS files for our new webpage. Next, I'm going to upload the necessary files here via SFTP. Once uploaded, you can see that it's a basic HTML structure, just a simple webpage for demonstration. To make sure everything works properly, we'll copy the full path of this directory and apply the appropriate permissions. I've now granted both read and write access, so the web server can handle the files without any issues. Now it's time to configure the domain to point to this webpage. For that, we need to open the Nginx configuration directory, which is located at /etc/Nginx. Here, we'll set up a new configuration file that links our domain name to the DateEntry folder we just created. Inside the Nginx configuration directory, you'll notice a folder named Sites Available. This is where we'll place our domain-specific configuration file. Let's double-check the path. We're now inside /etc/Nginx/sites available. At this point, I've copied a sample domain configuration that we'll use as a template. Now we need to create a domain configuration file. Instead of creating a new file manually with nano, I simply pasted a file and then renamed it to match our domain name. Now let's open the domain configuration file that we created now. I've already copied a sample Nginx config, so I'll paste it into this file. This config defines how Nginx will handle requests for our domain. Next, we need to replace two important values. The domain name. Update all instances with your actual domain name. The root directory path. This tells Nginx where your website files are located. To get the correct path, I've opened the directory where my website files are stored. Let's copy that full path and paste it into the config file, replacing the old root path. Once both values are updated, save the changes and close the file. Now, let's head back to the Sites Available directory. It's time to activate SSL for our domain. Step 1. Install the SSL requirement. We'll install Certbot and the Nginx plugin using the command I'll share. Once installed, Step 2. Request an SSL certificate. Copy the Certbot command and replace the domain name with yours. But before running it, wait, I forgot an important step. After saving any Nginx configuration, always check if the config is valid by running sudo Nginx. I pasted the command, and as you can see, the test is successful. No errors found. Now let's install the SSL. I ran the SSL installation command but encountered an error. I had mistakenly used the domain name twice, so I removed the extra one and ran the command again. Oops, another error. This time I realized the issue. I forgot to enable the site configuration. To enable our config, run this command. Make sure to replace yourdomain.com with your actual domain. Before enabling, go back to the main Nginx directory. Inside it, you'll see a folder named Sites Enabled. To enable our config, run this command. Once you've done that, our configuration is now enabled. To confirm, you'll see the symlink for your domain listed inside the Sites Enabled directory. Now we're ready to move on. Now it's time to run the Certbot command to activate SSL for our domain. After running it, you can see the message. SSL has been successfully deployed. Once SSL is applied, Certbot will automatically update your Nginx configuration file. So let's open that domain config file again and check what changed. As you can see, Certbot has added a few new configuration blocks for SSL, like redirecting HTTP to HTTPS and specifying the certificate and key paths. And here's the section we wrote earlier. Our original config is still there, now enhanced with secure HTTPS support. Final step, reload and restart Nginx. To apply all these changes and ensure everything works smoothly, we'll run two final commands. sudo systemcll restart Nginx. sudo systemcll reload Nginx. This restarts and reloads Nginx with the updated configuration. After restart and reload is done, now let's test the domain in the browser. And yes, it's working perfectly. The website is live with HTTPS enabled. Bonus tip: you can follow this same process to configure any domain on your VPS. If you're hosting a PHP website, just update the root directory and use the appropriate config block. If you're setting up a reverse proxy, for example, pointing to an API that runs via your VPS IP and a specific port, just adjust the proxy _pass and listen settings accordingly in the config.